Who should decide what's correct in a sport? Not what's allowed, what's like morally correct. Because there's a term in the NBA called the ethical bucket. This is in reference to players who allegedly play basketball the quote correct way. Mid-range jumpers, silky smooth buckets, the way John B. Basketball intended. Most of them are, I guess, the unethical hoopers. Players who stat pad, foul bait, and just generally play the game disrespectfully. Now what I'm confused about is what makes this so evil. Ultimately, this unethical playstyle is allowed. How to get a foul, how to use it to your advantage is well documented. I'm sure if it wasn't, I imagine Big Papa NBA would come down from their palace in heaven to take these unethical hoopers out back and give them the just look at the flowers special. Yet here they are, to this day, still hooping. So it seems like by the NBA standards, there isn't a rule in the law book they're breaking. So I guess it's up to Twitter vigilantes to take the law into their own hands and brand these players as evil. But why? The most recent man on the chopping block for this crime is SGA with the crime of excessive foul baiting. Now, what is so offensive about this style of play? To answer that, I think we should look at a statistic. Despite Shea getting flack for being a foul baiter, in the 24-25 regular season, he is the person with the second most free throw attempted. The player above him is the GOAT's brother, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis takes on average 2 more free throws than SGA, but why isn't he an unethical hooper? This, I think, is why this is an ethics issue. Giannis gets his fouls as a byproduct of the way he plays. Giannis is one of the last bastions of a pure physical hooper, a player who dominates the paint and hasn't succumbed to the 3-point meta. As such, my glorious king is constantly drawing fouls because of how much contact he has to blow past to play the game the way he's good at playing it. On the other hand, SJ has the tools to play this way, to avoid defenders and to be silky smooth and put himself in positions where he doesn't draw fouls. It's just the fact that foul baiting is optimal. When you can do it effectively, it not only gives the enemy player a foul, making them play less aggressive as to not foul out, but it also gives you the chance to score more points in the form of free throws. So from the purely game theory perspective, the risk of foul baiting is usually worth the reward of what it can give you. So in a sport where people are trying to win, with its rules well documented, what is so unethical about playing optimally? To understand that, I'm gonna switch sports for a sec. In the quarterfinals of the 2021 World Cup, the country of Ghana was on a streak to be the first African country in the semifinals. The score is 1-all. The ball is deflected. Goalkeeper's out the goal, and one of the Ghana players rises above all the others and headers the ball into the goal. Or at least, he would have, until Luis Suarez jumps up and deflects the ball with his hands. Only problem is, he's not the goalkeeper. This is a handball. One of the first rules of football you're taught. Obviously, you can't touch the ball with your hands, that's why it's called fucking football. So this is a very well documented rule. And instead that's one of the first things you learn when you play football. But the ball was going in, and the only thing Suarez could do was try to save it. Normally, to avoid a handball, you tuck your hands behind your back like this, and try to deflect the ball with any part of your body that isn't, your hands. So the outstretch is pretty sus. This, I think, is a prime example of the theory of unethical buckets. A handball and its punishments are well known. Suarez has to know that he's about to knock the ball with his hands, but he wants to win. What choice does he have? If he blocks the ball here, he gets a red card, and Ghana gets a penalty. But Ghana wouldn't score. Time was ticking down. If Ghana scored here, it would probably ice the game. So Suarez makes the decision. Use the rules to get us a better chance at winning. At least, with a free kick, the opponent can mess up, or the goalkeeper can pull a save. This is written within the rules. And it is the only out that Uruguay has to potentially not lose the game. Handballing here is optimal. But is it the right thing to do? The fallout after this event was massive. People are still talking about it to this day, like 15 years later. I mean, he single-handedly stopped a nation, a fucking continent, from going to the semifinals. That's like super villain levels of disrespect. It does also bring up an interesting point. If anything had gone differently following Suarez's handball, we would be treating it differently. If the Ghana player had hit the free kick, or if Ghana had somehow gone on to win the penalty shootout, Suarez's handball would just have been a blip on the radar. But to me, that doesn't eliminate the ill intent of the act. There's an agreed upon rule set for every sport, and football is, as the name says, the sport where you use your foot. Okay, better more obvious name would probably be not arm ball, but to the point, that is the agreed upon law for football. Now obviously, there are heavy penalties, literally, for if you break that rule. But that is really the only thing the game can do to dissuade you from using your arms, making it so unfavorable that you generally aren't gonna do it. Now, what about the cases where it's optimal to break those rules? This is why it's an ethical debate. Should we break rules if it makes it easier for us to win? This I cannot give a solid answer to, but what I can do is make an argument. If you look at it at the base, ignoring anything else, the goal of sports is winning. So do what you can to win, right? But I think the beauty of sports is that we all don't do certain things so that the playing field is even and every victory is well earned. We don't handball to save would-be goals because that would make the playing field uneven, because the vast majority of people on the field have agreed to not do it. The point of competition is fairness. And when we use rules to get an advantage, it breaks the fact that they're supposed to be here to protect us, to keep the fairness of the game intact, and they're not here to be used as an advantage. Because sports are skill games, games where the fun of them is learning how to maximize your skills so you can be the most effective. This only works if everyone agrees to play the game the same way, and just touching the ball breaks that fairness that everyone has agreed to play under. This is what I think people mean when they say ethical hoops is the correct way to play basketball. Clean shooting and driving to the rim is what you're taught to do. It's what you see everybody else doing. So yes, foul baiting isn't as bad as ruining a whole nation's chance at a semifinal. But seemingly, it is taking a rule that is supposed to protect the sanctity of the game and using it to your advantage. This is more about respect. Respect for the other players who have agreed to play the game a certain way. Respect for the rules which are in place to punish you and not for your benefit. And just respect for the sport as a whole. Sure, it's optimal, but so is running yourself up and becoming Super Saiyan. So yeah, fuck it. Twitter, you get a pass on this one. Valid discussion for once.